Welcome to the Global Me podcast, your gateway to a world without borders. I'm your co-host, JC Prieto-Williams, principal at Williams Advisors International.
Whether you're seeking a new home abroad, exploring golden visas, or investing in global real estate, we bring you the insights to make it happen. I'm Shannon McDonald, founder of McDonald Coaching, where I specialize in expat and relocation coaching.
With a special focus on the US, especially Texas, we also dive into top destinations like Canada, Mexico, Costa Rica, Panama, Portugal, Spain, the UK, and the UAE.
Remember, if you want us to help you explore a new destination, we'll make it happen. So get ready to unlock opportunities and design your ideal global lifestyle.
Let's dive right in.
So welcome back to another episode of the Global Me podcast. I'm your host, Shannon McDonald, and I'm joined by my co-host, JC Prieto-Williams, as well as our special guest, Andre Boada. Andre is a wine consultant based in Fredericksburg, and I won't give too much away about Andre because he has so much to share with us about, first of all, his personal journey into the food and wine industry, his move from California to Texas, and setting up wineries and all kinds of things in Fredericksburg, and also what is going on in Fredericksburg in the wine region in general. So we have so much to talk about today. Really excited to have you. Thank you, Andre, for joining us.
Sure. Thank you.
Yes, and welcome. So first of all, I mean, like I said, we have so much to get into, but what drew you initially to the world of wine?
Been very blessed. My parents are European. And so when you have European parents, my dad is from Barcelona and my mother from southern France, you kind of grow up in wine. You know, when I was like 10, 11 years old, it was very common to have a glass of wine with lunch. We always had wine with a meal. It wasn't like you just drink wine. It was always with food. And, you know, as I transcended into my teens and into college and my grad school, I was out in California and I lived in the Napa Sonoma area, but I got a chance to meet a vintner, which really springboarded my journey into the wine. And he wanted to start a winery for his two daughters. And I put together a business plan, and it was like a 10-year plan, 100,000 case winery. And I found a name that was being dumped in the market. It was called La Crema Vinifera, and it was Chardonnay and Cabernet. It was kind of a broad appellation of California, and it was being dumped. And I said, this is a really good name. So I shortened the name down to La Crema and repositioned the brand into the Sonoma Coast. And then at the same time, there was this movie that came out, Sideways, about Pinot Noir and how that was taken over and Merlot was going down. And that brand took off. And it was the fastest growing brand. It was a hot brand for 3 years. We outgrew my 100,000 case projection in 4 years. Wow. So from that same vintner pulled me on into other projects. And I just started working on new brands or repositioning, and I became his right-hand guy as a senior manager for brand development. And I probably started, 10 different brands for that one gentleman. And that one gentleman was the guy who founded Kendall Jackson. So his two daughters are the two daughters of the Jackson family. So many of the Jackson brands, they have about 30 now, all around the world I was part of. So I've been to Bordeaux, I've been to Spain, I've been to Oregon, up and down California, Argentina, and I was always part of the brand development. So it was really fun to do that because whenever I went there or went to start a brand, I always asked the winemaker if I could have like 1 acre of land just to make wine in that one part of the world. So I had an opportunity to do that at every location. Never got to keep it, but it was fun to kind of work in the arena of different terroirs to understand the climate, what grapes grow there, what's the temperament of threshold. And it was always a challenge to kind of do it on my own, but I had a winemaker overlooking my back, so it was really a good learning curve everywhere I went, and made a lot of friends. So that's kind of how I got into it. Over time, the Jackson family and this guy, Jess Jackson, I watched him become a millionaire, and then he became a billionaire. And when he became a billionaire, all the toys started coming out, but I got to a point where I said, how much can I do for this guy? And he wouldn't stop. I mean, he took risks every single time to expand his net worth. And I would scream at him sometime like, hey, you can't do this. You're going to lose everything you have. But he would always leverage what he had to get more, which is a good thing. I mean, you kind of learn from people like that as an entrepreneur. But it became a point where he was 72, a billionaire, and I said, okay, I need to go start helping other small little wineries. So I formalized my own company called VinoCadre, and it's a consulting company where I go out and help wineries around the country. And I've gone to quite a few places here in the country. Went to Asheville and got involved with the Biltmore, which is part of the Vanderbilt family. And they had a creamery that they wanted to change into a winery. So I was part of that action plan. And I set up the tasting room there, which I don't know if you've ever been to the Biltmore, but it's the #1 visited tasting room in the country, because anybody that goes in and pays a ticket to go see the house, they get a free tasting. So imagine 1,000 to 2,000 people per day going through a tasting room. So we had to set up, it was almost like going to Epcot Food and Wine. You had to have 10 to 15 bars to handle it. And the queue would be, 40, 50 people waiting to get in. You would have like a horseshoe bar with 3 servers per bar all day long. And the end result, people come in to get a free tasting, then they get dropped into a retail space. So everybody was buying a bottle or something. That's a souvenir. So the palettes that went through that place were just incredible. And then I set up tours and, reserved tastings and that kind of thing. But that was about a year of progress doing that. And when I was up in the Carolinas, I got a call from a Texan who was just sold his company. He was a carpenter that became a multimillionaire through building homes. And he had sold his company. He started at $3 an hour when he first started in the industry, and he sold his company for $170 million. So he had some fun money to play with, and he bought a ranch, and he said, Andre, can you come in and help me develop a new winery? So I did. I came down. I didn't know anything about Fredericksburg. Honestly, I thought it was Fredericksburg, Virginia, when he was talking to me. And I was kind of like, I said, are you in Texas? And he said, yeah, come on down and let's, build a winery. And I did. And I opened a place called Augusta Vin. I don't know if you've been there. Augusta, like the golf course, Augusta. And we put in 60 acres of vineyard. Put a production area in. This was like a 2-year project. And I was still going back and forth to California because I have a home in Hillsburg in Sonoma County. But I fell in love with the area of Fredericksburg and built a second home here. And when I came in, which was about 5 years ago, starting to come in, I saw the growth just starting to take off. It kind of reminded me of Sonoma and Napa, like 30, 40 years ago. If you look back to Sonoma, I mean, they had apple trees and farmland, and Napa was the same way, walnut trees and plum trees, cattle. There weren't that many wineries back then. And then Bottle Shock came in. I don't know. Do you remember that movie, Bottle Shock? It was with, they had the Judgment of Paris, where they took wines from California to France, and they won, like Chateau Montelena, Stag's Leap. They were winning in these international competitions that were blind with French winemakers and judges. And that just made everything take off in California. So the 80s were like the big boom in California. There were, 30, 40 wineries back then. Now there's 500 in Napa, 500 with 40,000 acres of vineyard in a 30-mile stretch. Same thing's happening here in Texas. The boom is happening now. So when you look at the market and see what's happening with the landscape of Texas, the one downside they have is that they don't have enough vineyards to support all the new growth. Like I was just talking about Napa, they have 40,000 acres in 30 miles. Our big state of Texas, with 400 to 500 wineries right now, we have 15,000 acres. So we're at a huge disadvantage for building. So I've been pushing people from a consultant standpoint to put more vineyards in. But here in the state, they have a little bit of an allowance through the government. They're not as strict as California. Like if you say California on your label, it must be 100%. Okay. If you come to Texas, if it's Texas, you have 75% fruit from Texas. If it has a sub-region like Texas Hill Country or the High Plains, then you have to go to 85%. And if you have a state bottling, it must be 100%. But most people are getting fruit from California to make blends, but they're trying to push a new legislature positioning to be 100% like California. So that'd be interesting to see where that goes. I don't think we're ready for it, but if it does happen, I think it'd be better for the state. That way you have true Texas wine going into the bottle. So California is getting the windfall of bringing fruit and grapes into the state to make blends for Texas wine.
Well, that's fascinating, Andre. I think
I kind of went through a lot of things in one.
there was a lot, yeah, but it was all very interesting. One of the things that I would like to see if we could dig in a little bit into is sort of the economics of wine. Kind of what you were talking about at the beginning. There's sometimes things that happen in the broader environment that trigger industries, right? In California, you kind of mentioned, the different brands, the different movies, the different things that are happening around the industry that really kind of, make it grow. Here in Texas, when I've been here in Austin for about 6 years, and for me, it was a really like a big surprise to know about the wine country of Texas, right? You never relate Texas with wine, right? And every time I go to Fredericksburg and go down that stretch of wineries, I think it's just really great. And the wines are actually pretty good. You could, at least for me, that I'm not an expert of wine, think that they're pretty good. How do you see wine as an economic development sort of mechanism for the state? How big is that industry? What numbers are we talking about?
Yeah, so they just did a study on the economic bandwidth of what's happening with the wine industry, and it's really generating huge revenue. So last year alone, $26 billion in added revenue to the state. That's quite a bit.
That's for Texas.
Huge.
Yeah, for Texas. And as if you look at where I am in Fredericksburg, and there's like a 4-county little area, 16 billion of the 26 is generated here in this area. So Fredericksburg is really gaining, and they're building new hotels, resorts, top chefs are coming in. The same thing I saw in Napa when I was growing up, because Napa was, Highway 29, where Napa is known for. You drive down that strip. They didn't have resorts or top chefs like Thomas Keller back in the 70s and 80s. The 80s is when it really took off. They had little motels, they had little cafes. Now you have resorts, you have the top chefs in the world, you have top sommeliers coming in. There's 15 master sommeliers out of 400 in Napa alone. I mean, that's pretty impressive. So the same thing's going to happen here. And when you have that, you get more jobs. I think last year alone, there were 135,000 jobs in the wine industry. And that's not including like resorts, new restaurants, and the things that you need to supplement the growth in the area. Luckily for this area, the city has embraced it, and they're adding affordable housing, new rental properties. I'm lucky. I built a house here at a good time, but the house market has really shot up in price. But I kind of see it coming back down a little bit, but it's definitely growing in a positive direction. The quality of the restaurants are getting better. The competition of wineries have really excelled. When I first came in, I went to the Texas Hill Country Symposium. There was about 40 wineries at that particular event, and I went around and tried all the wines. That was like 5 years ago. I would say in that little tasting, there was about 10% that I thought was, world class. I went back this year, half of the wines, were making their mark, and they're going into international competitions and winning awards around the country. I'm a judge, right? I write about wine. I make wine. I do everything in the wine industry. When you start seeing Texas win awards, international awards in San Francisco or LA, New York, I mean, that's a good mark. So I'm pretty proud to be part of that. I'm really trying to elevate everybody here to a higher level. The one thing I notice about, going into tasting rooms, they're not like going into a tasting room in Napa where it's really polished and well-groomed by well-educated servers. Here is the lack of servers, and it's hard to get people here. It's a constant training kind of thing where you need people that can stay in the area, but it's getting better. I can't say the quality is definitely ramping up. The people who were not good are starting to fold, and the wineries that are going away are getting replaced by better wineries. So the future is going to be really good.
That's so interesting. And it's happened so quickly. You mentioned 5 years. It's really exploded.
Yeah.
And sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. When I first got here, there were about 40 wineries. Now in this area in the Hill Country, there's a good 100. So, I mean, that's pretty fast to go to that. But you wait. I guarantee you, in about 5 to 10 more years, there'll be 400, and there'll be more resorts. The resorts that are coming in are top tier luxury resorts. Everything is shifting. It's going higher, and the quality is getting better. And, I have a new champagne lounge called Six Twist. My whole premise there is to elevate the whole tasting experience. So people that come in from wineries, they say, oh my goodness, this is the way it should be, right? And so I'm kind of indirectly influencing the people that are out there in the wine industry, because they're now copying some of the things I'm doing, which I'm proud to say that's a good thing. Makes me feel good. I'm helping people here in Texas. They've been very kind to me. The people in Texas are amazing, by the way. I just want to stress that point. That's what made me want to build a home here in Fredericksburg. In this town, if you haven't been here, you have to come visit. It is such a beautiful, beautiful place, and quaint, no crime, easy parking, great restaurants. And
you got me with easy parking.
I know.
Not like San Antonio.
No kidding. So who do you see coming down to Fredericksburg? Is it more out of state or within the state that visit Fredericksburg?
It's mostly in-state, and it amazes me how far people drive to come into Fredericksburg. Like, we get quite a few people from Houston, Dallas, the Fort Worth area, and further, But I would say the top two markets that come in, other than Austin and San Antonio, which are an hour away, are those two markets. So you have Houston, a lot of money there with the oil and gas. Dallas, kind of trendy and fun, kind of reminds me of LA. So you get a good mix of people coming, but out of state, not as many. I don't see, maybe Louisiana, you get a few people coming our way, but it's mostly in state. And Texans are very supportive of Texans. They want to try Texas wine. They want to support the growth, which I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I was surprised when I came back from my recent trip to Fredericksburg and I was telling my friends about the different wineries we went to. And a lot of my friends are members of those wineries. And so they get whatever it is, a certain amount of wine per year shipped to their homes. And I thought that was great. I mean, you can buy wine here from anywhere in the world, obviously. And it does seem, to your point, that people here do want to support the Texas wine region. And what do you
Yeah.
think? I mean, if that's amazing that you have the support from within the state, but what can Texas learn from California, for example, in how to grow it even bigger and make it more of a destination from people all over the country or even outside of the country, all over the world, if
Yeah,
that's what you want?
yeah, that's a good question. The challenge here is that the grapes that grow in this area are not the common grapes you would buy or the leaders in the categories of white and red wine. For example, if you like a white wine, the number one selling white wine in the world is Chardonnay. Well, guess what doesn't grow here? Chardonnay. And then you have the number one red wine grape in the world, Cabernet Sauvignon. Doesn't do well here either. You need a long growing season to have the right flavor profiles for a good cab like Napa. Um, so you have to think about what makes it different. But the novelty of being new, I think, is really drawing people in. But what grows here are grapes that you would find in the Mediterranean, like Spain, Italy, southern France, and they're not common grapes. So it's a little bit of a challenge to educate consumers to know what those grapes are. They have to understand the farming techniques because here is a much shorter season for growing grapes and you have some challenges just with the soil and hail and all the elements. This is by far the most difficult place to grow grapes and to make really good wine. So if you can do it here, you can do it anywhere, right? I talk to winemakers all the time, like, what's the challenges? And they show me books, that are thick. And they say, you can just drop that book wherever it opens. That could go wrong here in Texas. That's it. Oh, okay. So it's really interesting to see how they work around the elements and how they can make it work. The big thing is controlled growth and getting 100% Texas in their arsenal. I think that would make a better story. The good thing about our wines here is that the alcohol level is actually lower than what you would find in like Napa and Sonoma. And that could be a good selling point for people that are trying to, sell Texas wine. When you go to California and you go to Napa, the average alcohol for wine is like 13%. But when you go to Napa, the long growing season and the extra sugar and the extra ripeness, you get 15, 16% alcohol. That's pretty high, but you get a lot of flavor. And vice versa, if you go over to Bordeaux, same grapes, you get 12, 11% alcohol. Here, where we are, we're right in the middle. So we're at the 12, 13%, which is really good for food. Somewhat good for aging. They're trying to prove that they can age the wines here like they can in Napa, Sonoma. They're not as big as Napa and Sonoma, so it's a little bit of an adjustment. Like if you come from Napa and come here and try the wines, it's not the same texture and weight. And so people say, well, it's not what I'm used to. You just have to adjust your palate to this area. And same thing from Bordeaux. They come here and they say, well, it's not Bordeaux, but the
Well, of
wines are
course, you're in Texas, right? I mean, and I think that in marketing wise, you can't be competing one on one with these other regions because it's a different climate, it's a different place,
right.
and you know how in Texas, everything goes big, right? And
Yeah.
so I think part of the whole wine positioning is everything that's around the hospitality industry that Texans could definitely blow that up, right? Now you have the Waldorf Astoria coming in, you have all these different bed and breakfasts throughout the hill country. So if you make it attractive beyond wine, I think then wine kind of floats to the top as well.
Yeah, the hotels are going to definitely bring in a higher level of luxury to the area. And that's happening already where I'm seeing bigger spenders with more money there's still always going to be like the bachelorettes with all the same T-shirts and the same colors, doing their thing, which is kind of quaint and cute. But the quality of the high level is starting to kick in, and it's going to shift over time. I mean, you'll see more of it with these top resorts opening. And I know I've been talking to different chefs because I have a network from Food and Wine Magazine. I do a lot of speaking for them. There's quite a few chefs looking to come in, as well as top wineries that are some of my best friends out of California. They're all looking at what's happening here. So it's just a matter of time. I'm telling you, it's going to definitely happen. It's just how quick can we get people hired and trained to support the growth of the future of the Hill Country. But Hill Country is by far the best place to visit for wine and have the ultimate experience with food and wine. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I can attest to Six Twists being a fantastic experience. That's where I met Andre what was it, about a month or a little bit longer ago. And it was an amazing respite from, I didn't know about it. It was actually recommended from someone that we did a tasting with at a winery, and we loved it. And the champagne was fantastic. And I know you have their sparkling wine from all over the world, like India, places that I wouldn't even think made wine. And I know also you told me about what you're doing, speaking of, elevated luxury with your company, VinoCadre, and the private tours that you're offering, wine tours. So can you tell us a little bit about that? I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, so Six Twists, if you don't know it, there's always a cage on top of a bottle of sparkling wine, and you have to unlock it 6 twists to get the cage off. So that's called a muselet in France, that little cage, which means muzzle. But whenever you unlock a cage, I have a belief to think of positivity and gratefulness and have 6 good thoughts. Then you pop the cork and that harmony gets spread to everybody around you. We have over 100 different sparkling wines, which is unheard of. I mean, we have a system that preserves everything we open. So right now I have about 50 sparkling wines or champagnes from around the world that you can taste. And it wouldn't hurt me a bit to say, try it, because it's not going to go bad. The system keeps the wine fresh for almost a month, which is incredible. And then around the courtyard in that little complex, which is that Elk in Maine, we have a gourmet market opening, a wine and tapa bar. There's an event space and then a lounge coming in. So it's pretty compelling to come by there. It's right on Main Street in case you want to come by. And then talking about my VIP experiences, I just locked in with a really interesting lady who's been in the aviation and private jet arena for many years. And we're putting together trips going to Napa in a private jet, small groups where I host. So you hop on a jet out of Fredericksburg and you do a champagne seminar on board with me. And then you land in Napa, and then we go at it with some of the most incredible vineyard sites and high personality winery owners or winemakers. There's nothing low levels at the very top and fun people. So it's a 4-day trip, but really extravagant. So if you want to do that, you can always go to my website and just sign up for it on VinoCadre. Yeah,
that's awesome. So you're going to Vegas now. That's awesome.
It's pretty cool, right? You hop on a small private jet and have a champagne seminar. Yeah, you go right into the heart of Napa. There's no flying into San Francisco. You go right into the world of wine. You go into the most glamorous resort. It's not like a resort. It's a villa that is just incredible. It's a 10-bedroom villa. Every room has its own suite. There's bocce court and tennis courts, a wine cave, vineyards all around it up on the mountain of Glen Ellen. And I have people, we go out all day, but at the end of the day, instead of going out for dinner, that place is so beautiful. I'm having vintners come to us and we catering dinners. So it's pretty extravagant.
I want to go. Sign me up. I need to start saving. It sounds amazing.
Yeah, I'll probably come back about 10 pounds heavier, but it's okay.
It's fine. It's okay. No worries.
Yeah, in case you want to go.
Yeah, no, I think the Hill Country is becoming this central piece of Texas. I
Oh,
was just
yeah.
looking at some demographic data on the growth, demographic growth throughout the state, and everything is within this Golden Triangle or the Texas Triangle, and within
Yes.
that, the Hill Country is becoming this go-to place for hospitality, retreats. It's kind of like the little oasis within the big four cities in Texas. So it's great that that's becoming, gradually better, organized, planned, and definitely will keep on going. From Austin, we go there maybe once every quarter when we got people visiting. We always take them
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Shannon, I think we're coming to the end of this. But I know you were in Fredericksburg. You just mentioned there a little while ago. What was your overall takeaway of Fredericksburg and the wine scene there?
I mean, I loved it. This time I went with some friends rather than with my kids. And so it was a very different experience. So I got to really immerse myself in more of the wine and culture. And the thing that I find really that could be a really interesting juxtaposition in Fredericksburg is you have these wineries and things are getting more high end, like you said, the new hotels coming in and the wineries will become more elevated. But then you have these places like Hondo's where you go and get your bar service, sit down, listen to some live music and just have a really relaxing kind of chilled out evening. So I love that there's a little bit of something for everyone there. And it can be, I think, eventually as high end as you'd like or as casual as you want. And I mean, I had an amazing time, and I think it's really interesting. I mean, I've been telling people about the area, and everyone I talk to says, "Okay, so should we buy land there? What should we do? How can we get in on this? I mean, what do we think about this?"
Yep.
So that's something that I'm definitely keeping in mind because it sounds like talking to Andre that it's only going to keep growing.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
a good time to get in. The one thing to note about Fredericksburg, not everybody knows this little city. It's not a big city. It's like 10 to 12,000 people. But when on weekends, there's 40 to 50,000 people that come into this little uh, downtown Main Street, which is amazing. It's like going down a street in New York. It's packed, with the shops on Main, and all these restaurants are packed. It's hard to get a reservation. So there's, it's a pretty fun place to visit because of the quaintness and the events they put on there. It's when you see a parade go through Fredericksburg, it's a very small, interesting hometown parade that makes you feel like you should be in this little city with good people. And there are some really good people with a lot of high income that live here. It's amazing. People don't show their money. They walk around in jeans and boots and drive old trucks, but they have millions of dollars.
Right.
And yeah, it's pretty interesting to be part of it.
So, Andre, just to close it out, tell us why people should go to Vino Cadre, and thank you again for taking the time
Yeah,
to
sure. So VinoCadre is a platform that I work as a consultant, but it's also for consumers. So if somebody's coming in and they want an elevated tour experience, I can help guide them through that and do things that you wouldn't ordinarily have as an option. I host people, but I have a group of somms that work with me if I'm not available. And then we have trips going to different parts of the world, like I'm starting to map out Champagne, Bordeaux, and Burgundy, maybe go to Spain. But for now, I'm going to California because I have so many good connections there that are personal friends. Um, yeah, it's good. It's interesting to go to Vino Cadre. Six Swiss is just my champagne bar. I have a couple of partners in that. That's just a fun experience to have that many sparkling wines in a beautiful setting. It's not a bar. It's really a lounge with education and an experience, as Shannon knows. It makes you feel good when you walk out of that place. And it's definitely elevated to a point of visiting. So hopefully we can get some of your viewers to come by and say hello in
Yep,
person. I'd love to have you come over as well,
of
just
course.
to see what we're doing.
Yep.
But certainly appreciate the opportunity to be on your podcast and be part of this. Maybe we can do it like in a year or two from now and just say, look what I said back then, and look where we are. Yeah, so it'd be fun to see where it goes.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much again, Andre. This is a great
You got
conversation,
it.
and I really look forward to seeing what's going to happen in the next couple years.
Yeah,
Let's see, like you said, we'll regroup and reflect.
yeah, and good luck to your podcast
Thank you
series.
so
I
much.
think it's a beautiful idea to share the vision of, how to understand the world of economics and what's going on around the world, but here in Texas. So keep it up,
Thank
and I'll help
you.
Thank
promote
you.
it.
Well, thank you very much, everybody.
Okay.
Take care.
Yeah.
Bye
Have
bye.
a good day. Thank you.
That's a wrap of another episode of the Global Me podcast.
If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with fellow global explorers.
Connect with us on social media and let us know where your global journey is taking you next. We might even invite you to the show to share your stories.
Until next time, keep dreaming, keep exploring, and keep creating your best global life.